Audio Jungle.
On this episode of International Affairs, we are getting inside the minds of ISIS. Good morning, I'm Tal Lauryn, and these are my colleagues Victoria Bagrov and Lauren Fox. Together, we will be dissecting the terrorist group ISIS, also known as the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria.
4 years ago, ISIS did not exist. Now it controls vast swaths of Syria and Iraq. They show off their work via social media. ISIS has repeatedly demonstrated that it is much more than an international terrorist organization. Rather, it is a unit with a sophisticated command, control, propaganda, and logistical capabilities, and one that has proven its ability to take and hold territory in the Middle East.
ISIS, the terrorist army, many thousands strong, now rampaging through Levant, embraces such extreme and violent ideology that it makes even Al-Qaeda squeamish. ISIS is a child born of hate and fear. It has displaced many people's hopes and dreams and murdered thousands.
We decided to report on this topic today because over the past 4 years, ISIS has grown to a point that they are capable of not only endangering the people of Iraq and Syria, but now the people of the United States.
Over the course of the project, we learned that ISIS makes a large sum of money on a daily basis, recruits a large group of men, women, and children, and constantly shows their dominance in the Middle East.
ISIS began as a faction of Al-Qaeda, but their practices became so cruel and inhumane that even Al-Qaeda cut all ties to the group. When the group split off, they made Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi the leader. Al-Baghdadi is a 43-year-old jihadist from the Iraqi city of Samarra. When in America, he was arrested and released after 6 months. After this, he joined Al-Qaeda. However, he announced in June of 2014 the creation of the Islamic State that erases all state borders and announced himself as the authority over the world's estimated 1.5 billion Muslims.
In November of 2014, ISIS militants claimed to have beheaded American hostage Peter Kasig in a video published to the internet. Peter Kasig, also known as Abdul Rahman Kasig, is the fifth Westerner whom ISIS claims to have beheaded via video messages.
Over time, our opinions did not change about ISIS. However, we have gained insights which have strengthened our original opinions. We now realize how big of a threat ISIS has become and how widespread the issue is. They have harmed many innocent people, destroyed cities, and made it hard for many countries to continue living in peace.
هذا هو مكان القناص. لسه ما بينت معكم الكاميرا.
لابد نحن المسلمين، نحن الذين نريد أن نقيم شرع الله في هذه الأرض. والله الذي لا إله إلا هو، لا يقام شرع الله إلا بالسلاح، إلا بالسلاح.
أحب أن أصير بدولة الإسلام في العراق والشام وأقاتل معهم لأنهم يحبون أن يقاتلون المرتدين والكفراء.
ISIS is a highly advanced group in terms of recruiting methods and financial gain. But how does ISIS make its money to fund their takeover of Iraq and Syria? ISIS smuggles in oil from inside northern Iraq and northern Syria into the quiet part of southern Turkey with ease. Although the Turkish people will despise ISIS and wouldn't want to support them anyway, cheap oil is a much prized commodity in Turkey, where oil is so expensive that it doesn't matter who is selling it, even if it's your enemy. For ISIS's oil sales, sources told CNN, the group probably makes between 1 million and 2 million per day, but probably on the lower end. The group funds itself not only with oil, but through organized crime within the territories it has vanquished and now controls. A CNN reporter named Levitt says ISIS operates as a massive organized crime group with virtually no law enforcement to rein it in, and its long history has allowed it to set roots and develop over many years. It means ISIS can demand money from people wherever it has established control. Want to do business in ISIS-controlled territory? You pay a tax. Want to move a truck down an ISIS-controlled highway? You pay a toll. Villagers in ISIS territory reportedly are charged and paid for just about everything. You want to know what happens if you don't pay the tax? You either are beaten severely, killed, or they forcefully take whatever good they want from you. ISIS not only has stolen from the people of Iraq and Syria, but also the banks and big companies of the area. and Mosul, ISIS looted the central bank and other small provincial banks, resulting in a financial windfall of tens and possibly hundreds of millions of dollars. With this money, ISIS can afford to hire new specialized militants, buy new weaponry that is the highest grade, and can compete with America's arsenal and create grand propaganda videos to attract new recruits from not only the Middle East but the West as well. In terms of recruitment, most of the recruits were self-starters, people radicalized on their own from consuming ISIS propaganda from YouTube videos and other social media. Much of the propaganda comes in the form of slick, movie trailer-style videos, some glorifying brutal practices such as the beheading of anyone who ISIS leaders decide doesn't comport with their medieval brand of Islam. But once those initial Western recruits arrived, they started to directly entice friends and other contacts back home to join them. ISIS occupies much accessible territory, mostly reachable through Turkey. Istanbul's airport has easy connections to Western Europe and much of the rest of the world. From there, Turkey's modern infrastructure offers quick access to the border regions, and smugglers can help jihadists get across to Syria. ISIS portrays how much better life purportedly is in the caliphate as compared to the corrupt West, and they go after all, from rich to poor, educated to dropout, male to female, teenage to middle-aged. There are signs Western recruits have risen to high levels in the ISIS organization, with their influence reflected in the latest propaganda. Counterterrorism and intelligence officials have said this. In propaganda videos, the English is near spot on, and U.S. authorities don't see the lure of ISIS proceeding anytime soon. In fact, we are opening cases quicker than we are closing them, the U.S. counterterrorism official said.
This is quite an unusual situation. He made it to Turkey, to Istanbul, where he was planning to join a friend to travel to join ISIS in Syria. Apparently his family got involved and decided to trick him. They told him that there was a health problem with his mother, which prompted him to return here to Houston, Texas. He'd been living in Australia for the last couple of years, and then that's when he decided that he wanted to go join ISIS. He sent this message, which is quoted in the federal complaint that was filed in court today. In it, he tells this middleman who helps arrange for travel for recruits for ISIS, says, "I want to join ISIS, can you help?" It's a simple message like that, which was what kicked off the FBI's interest here. They've been investigating him for several months now, and apparently the FBI was aware that he was in communication with a friend of his. His friend, Brooke, actually did make it to join ISIS in Syria. Asher Khan did not make it all the way, instead got tricked by his family to come back here in February, and now he's been arrested today.
Who supports ISIS? Reportedly, the group has received funding from wealthy people in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar. They use the money to buy arms on the black market. However, former Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki has publicly accused Qatar and Saudi Arabia of supporting the militants. In March of 2014, he said, "I accuse them of inciting and encouraging the terrorist movements. I accuse them of supporting them politically and in the media, of supporting them with money and by buying weapons for them." Over the course of the year, ISIS has taken control of many places. In early January 2014, ISIS took control of Fallujah and most of Ramadi, both cities in Anbar province. In early June 2014, members of ISIS seized control of Mosul in northern Iraq. Militants released Sunni insurgents from prison, looted banks of about $425 million, and occupied an airport, amongst other places. After seizing Mosul, militants and other Sunni groups took control of Tikrit and the country's largest oil facility, located in Baji. By early July of 2014, ISIS changed its name to the Islamic State and declared the territory under its control, Anbar province and most of Nive. In August 2014, ISIS took control of the largest dam in Iraq, located in Mosul. In late August, members of the group beheaded American journalist James Foley, who went missing in Syria in November of 2012. During September and October of 2014, ISIS laid siege to Kobani, a town in north-central Syria. In February of 2014, however, President Obama formally sought authorization from Congress to conduct a 3-year campaign against ISIS. The request covered airstrikes and limited ground troops.
The United States airstrike in Iraq on the Islamic State has been a very effective step in containing the rise of the group. But as the Center for American Progress noted in June, the U.S. military action needs to be just one part of a long-term multinational political and security strategy in the region. We believe there are many other measures that need to be taken against ISIS. The new strategy should aim to contain and degrade ISIS and enable regional partners to continue to build the tools needed to defeat ISIS's movements with international support. These are 3 of our goals against ISIS. 1. Contain and degrade the threat ISIS possesses to the Middle East region and global security. 2. Alleviate the humanitarian crisis affecting millions of Syrians and Iraqis. 3. Restore the territorial integrity of Iraq and Syria. And 4. Advance stability in the Middle East. As a result of ISIS's advances this summer, it has made Iraq and Syria part of the same battlefield, erasing the international border and turning the regional struggles for power into a substantial threat to international peace and security. The United States should advance its 3 fundamental goals noted below by following on the following support. 1. Building and managing an international coalition to defeat ISIS and stabilize the region. 2. Increasing support for Iraq's political, economic, and security transitions, in particular with the revived U.S.-Iraq Strategic Framework Agreement. And 3. Initiating a more concentrated effort to end Syria's civil war. The coalition is more thoroughly explained in the following video clip.
With a new Iraqi government in place and following consultations with allies abroad and Congress at home, I can announce that America will lead a broad coalition to roll back this terrorist threat.
Good morning. Welcome to the News Hub. I'm Michael Casey, in today for Simon Constable. That was President Obama Wednesday night laying out a plan to ramp up military confrontation with the Islamic militants group known as ISIS through an international coalition. But already it's not that clear how much support he is going to get for this mission from America's allies.
After watching this documentary, we hope that you have gained insights on the challenges America faces with ISIS and the need for their extinction. ISIS is cruel, inhumane, and immoral with their vicious actions and beliefs.
The U.S. and other nations have become allies to successfully eliminate ISIS by means of coalition airstrikes, which have proved somewhat effective. More groundwork needs to be done in Iraq and Syria to successfully accomplish this goal and restore peace to the Middle East.
We conclude that ISIS is being dealt with accordingly, and if in the next few years the correct measures will be taken, ISIS will be a thing of the past.
Thank you for watching.